Welcome to Climate Curious Quickies, bite-sized nuggets of climate goodness from our TEDx experts in under 10 minutes.
In this week's Climate Curious, we're headed to the banks of the Klamath River to ask what happens if we just hit undo on a concrete dam to bring back salmon from the brink of extinction. That's exactly what our guest this week did on her birthday. Amy Bowers Cordalis is an attorney and fisherwoman from the Yurok Tribe and ceremony family from the village of Rekwoy at the mouth of the Klamath River. In 2002, after 70,000 salmon died, Amy set out to make sure that this sort of ecocide never happened again. She took action by signing up for law school. Over 2 decades later, her winning dam removal case resulted in the biggest salmon restoration ever in US history. On how fish ladders were the ultimate legal loophole for blowing up a dam, here's Amy Bowers Cordalis in conversation with Maryam Pasha live at TED in Vancouver. Stay curious.
You mentioned that for you, this is about freedom.
Yeah.
I find that really moving. And I'm just wondering whether you might just say more about it.
It's freedom because the dams metaphorically and physically were slowly taking away our way of life.
Yeah.
And I guess you kind of have to have a bigger context of time to say whether it was slow or fast, you know, but the Klamath River used to be the third largest salmon producing river in the whole continental US. And we as Yurok people, we've interacted, we've managed, we've stewarded, we've fished the river, the salmon since the beginning of time. And so we've grown up with these fish and our way of life is dependent upon those fish. So if you have a dam that is killing the river, killing the fish runs, then it is also killing the people who are dependent upon it. You know, my family, the rest of the tribe, all of the indigenous peoples from the basin. And so we didn't have a future if we didn't take out those dams because we couldn't practice our way of life.
Yeah.
And so the freedom part is you take out those dams, the river heals, the river is free, the salmon are free, and so are the people because we're all in deep relationship and dependent upon one another. And one can't be free without the other.
One of my favorite moments was when you talked about your grandmother.
Oh, yeah.
I felt her through you as the way that you talked about her, and my grandmother's really important to me, and so I love that you brought her in, and you know you've accomplished so much, not just in the removal of these dams, but also as like you mentioned, like the first woman in your community who went to law school, like who represent, I don't want to get Tell
first
us a bit
general
more.
Counsel, yeah,
that was
so
it, first general counsel. Talk to us a bit about what that means and how that impacts what that has allowed, or what that's opened up for you and the community.
Yeah. Well, and let's start with the role of great grandmas and moms and aunties. I always try to ask, and whether it's great grandma who has passed away, but really connect to that ancestral power and ask them for the right words, so that then when I go out and talk, it's not just me as you see me.
Yes.
I hope that I can channel that and be a venue for a larger message for those that can't speak, like the salmon or the river, but then deeply carry forward those cultural values that inform everything I've been talking about. Yeah. And it's rooted in my great grandmother. And you're right, when we were in that room, and there was a part of the speech where it was she came to me during the fish kill and told me I had to fight. And in the speech, when I was saying that, my arms went like this, and it was I literally felt her electricity. But then also I felt like the audience felt it too. Yes. And so it became this exchange of electricity, and it was really powerful. And I'm so glad you felt that too.
Yeah. I think it's amazing for me when a speaker allows us into their world like that. What has being a lawyer allowed you to do? Having that skill set, having that access. What is it meant for you and your work?
It's another language. It's another, arrow in your quiver. The law, and in the U.S., we have the U.S. Constitution, we have tribal rights, and for my tribe, they are called federally reserved rights, which make them the supreme law of the land via the U.S. Constitution. And so in law school, I learned about just basic U.S. law. And then practicing, I was able to really hone my skill and figure out how do I use those federally reserved rights to better protect my community. And a big piece of that is translating.
Okay.
And it's translating the laws to, my client as a lawyer was my tribe, the Yurok, so to tribal leaders, to tribal members. But it's also, and this is just as important, it's translating tribal law, tribal values and cultures to other lawyers, to other people who don't know the language of the river or don't know the cultural values, or maybe don't even understand the tribal law, right? And so it's a translation back and forth, and it's allowed me to communicate. One of the things after the fish kill, we informed the media and nobody came. Can you imagine? Largest salmon kill in U.S. history. We call the media and no one comes. And that was because at that point in 2002, I don't know, maybe people didn't care. I don't know. It's very odd. But I think a big part of it was that we as Yurok people were very marginalized. Okay. Very marginalized. And I remember feeling that. And so the law has enabled me to be able to translate back and forth to empower the people I represent, the tribe I represent, the salmon, the river, and what we stand for. And then what's amazing, too, that I learned is my family history is deeply rooted in American law, too. My great uncle's Supreme Court case, and that's our highest court in the land, reaffirmed that the Yurok reservation was still Indian country, and so we still had inherent sovereignty and legal rights on it. And that really set the stage for the rise of the modern Yurok government, and that set the stage for dam removal. And I write about all of this in my book, The Water Remembers. But so I kind of knew that the law could be used as a change agent. And so that's what I've tried to do through that.
One of the parts of this story that I love is that you won.
Yeah. We won. We deeply won. Yeah.
I did not know that you could remove a dam and help bring a river back to life.
It turns out a lot of people feel that way, right? Or it's like they've never thought we could take out these dams. We could remove this gold mine. We could remove this bridge. We could take out this parking lot. We could remove this building, right? That idea, and the idea is nature-based solutions. Yeah. It's like you remove the concrete to make it real simple, and then you restore the land underneath it, and then that land will start performing traditional ecological functions, whatever they were. And we could do that across the globe. Yeah. And that's really what I was trying to get across at the TED Talk was hey, this is a model that we could apply around the world to any kind of infrastructure project. Yeah.
One of my favorite parts of the story is where, and please correct me if I'm misremembering this, but where you get the courts to mandate is it the companies?
Power companies.
Yeah. To put in the fish corridors. Is that what they're called?
Fish ladders.
Fish ladders. Yeah. I remember thinking, can fish climb ladders? But yes, fish.
I know, it doesn't seem right.
Okay. Yeah. Fish ladders into the dams. Mm-hmm. And then them did they know that it was because tell that part of the story. That was my favorite bit. One of my favorite bits.
Okay, good. So we're in this huge fight and we've been in it for 12 years. Wow. And we're litigating, we're protesting, we're praying, all the things, community organizing. And we get to a point in the legal proceeding was in an American entity called the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC. And so we get through the proceeding to a point where FERC basically ordered the power company to install fish ladders in order to keep operating the dams. And so we press pause on the legal proceedings and start talking about, okay, what can we do with this? And I think this was a really wise moment. You know, some people think like, oh, well, you just won. Like, why wouldn't you just go forward with the litigation? And that's because sometimes to get to these big ecosystem restoration projects or really anything, like you need more diverse solutions than when a court remedy can offer. So we went into settlement negotiations and did an economic analysis, and it turned out that removing the dams was cheaper than installing the fish ladders. And that was essentially how we got to the settlement agreement.
Thanks for listening to this quickie.
This episode was created by our superstar podcast team at TEDxLondon. Until next time,
Stay curious.